around. That just certainly isn't the case. They've been playing around topside jungle. Hold the thought.
Oh, Chachi forced to jump away, and what's the out route now? Actually, with the humanoid backing up, that's gonna be fine.
Classic isolated deaths from Chachi.
Absolutely, but what I wanted to mention is they've been playing around this topside jungle, and they had vision in all of the areas before the ward expired to be able to make those plays. There was nothing that
Into the cocoon! What a prediction! Clint set that one up! He got a cleanse, didn't cast it, didn't go back.
This is exactly Splice. They get to mid-game and suddenly it feels like the train is on the rails and just immediately gets derailed.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a second too early, wasn't I?
We were talking about this matchup before we came on air, and you're like, the big thing to watch for is the Splice solo laners top the tournament in isolated deaths. Within 80 seconds, Chachi nearly gets one shot into Humanoid actually dying, isolated from the team.
And this is actually a symptom that Kelsey likes to point out about Splice's vision. Thank you, observers, because you see how dark that map is. And yes, SKT are doing a great job denying the vision, but Splice historically are also terrible at getting the vision placed out, which forces the face checks. They struggle in playing 1-3-1. They are much more comfortable in a 1-4 or 5v5 formation. And as pieces are kind of walking back to the rest of their team, that's when they get caught out.
But Frost, they had the vision. As that replay is happening, if they were just playing topside, they're fighting over an Air Drake. And Air Drake is slightly better than everyone at home would have expected.
The Rohirrim will need your
aid. It
aid.
still isn't one of those objectives. And if you
what brings you to these lands?
Prior control over
Our
the
success
area, you
depends
probably
upon our
don't
strength.
want to take a 5v5
Will you
team.
aid
But
us?
I really do think that with the assignments they had, they could have been playing for tier 2 top. They could have been encroaching on that topside jungle, trying to get control over the Raptor camp, using Gragas's threat from that position to try and take mid lane. You don't have to walk into a part of the map that you don't own.
But taking stock of the state of the map right now and the state of items, this is where SKT, they're like right in their pocket right now. They're feeling really comfortable. Look at Lucian's items, look at Lissandra's items. They are ready to go. And at this point, Splice actually just kind of need to get over this hump, create unfair fights, create some picks, some hit and run League of Legends, but otherwise just slow down SKT when SKT are at their point of power.
Because whilst they do have the items to fight, with the exception of Faker, no one is really safe on the map right now for SKT either. They will all die instantly to a Blitz Hook follow-up from Kai'Sa, who is also crested the 2-item mark herself. So I think the Splice still are in a very good position there. Ease of execution that comes from their comp, I think, is a little bit higher. They have things like the Gragas engaged, and they might look for it now.
Looking for the Flame Moon, not going to land just yet. And the Claw's now down. Faker Hook's going to come into North Scare. They're going to trade close here. In the front line, though, Khan put a lot of damage in, force the flash of North Scare. Look at the cross. Big flash flay. That's one kill coming through. Faker's in the chase. They're going to find a second now as well. Splice running for the hills. The flash to follow. Xerath barely lives.
Because it's about playing hit and run, unfair fights, hit the hook, blow them up with a blanc. Do not burn all of your cooldowns and run face first into SKT. They will destroy you.
It's about fighting over the control. SKT disappearing to Fog of War, then re-engaging on their turn, and they're still looking for it.
All right, 3 versus 5. A lot of damage towards Humanoid. Faker first to mark that one, and the jungler, you got to find him. He's nowhere nearby. Smite cannot possibly come through. The Smite is there for Klid, of course. SKT get a 2 for 0. SKT grab the Baron. SKT recall safely.
And it was just the most untimely, critical mistake for Splice. And against a team like SKT, you cannot make those errors. Dying in mid-lane, right in front of the Baron. It looked like Splice might have a window in this game. You're like, I didn't think it would be this close. And now suddenly the game has just been ripped away from Splice.
And you can see that that from North Screen is an overreach. There was a good control ward in that brush. They didn't have perfect vision on Faker. And everyone else is disappearing in Fog of War. A great time counter-engage there from SKT. That's what experience looks like. Lucian in the mid-game is still putting in work.
Yeah, didn't go mid-game late control. Plenty of damage output there, so a good stopwatch for effort. And this is part of what we just saw. Why we hear Splice late game team so much? Because their first 15 minutes are great.
They have to play it. They have to play late game.
They played SKT and they play the LEC close, and then mid-game happens, and if you want to win a game, they got to take it to late game, because their mid-game, just sadly, it's not quite there. They're getting picked off, and SKT now have a lot of road to run with.
I do like Splice's formation here right now. They're like, we can't stop what's ever happening. They're going to run through all of their players. So what they're trying to do in these side lanes is force up these waves to stall out SKT. They don't want SKT to break and inhib or break the base with this, which it's a very early Baron, so chances are that will happen. Splice just make a massive mistake and run into them. But again, it's forcing SKT to respond respond to clean up these waves and not just get to play offensive with their Baron.
Because Splice's composition doesn't have the most practical wave clear. They've got some forced areas of wave clear, like a Gangplank ultimate and Humanoid putting his face in the middle of a team again. You know, both of those things will kill minions. But we've seen how dangerous that can be. So I think that that's a good call, being able to split up the map, make it again, and not run into what is currently a power spike in SK Telecom. And this is where SKT are really able to show how well they play. You can see right now that Kyle is trying to time his mid lane wave that Raven right now is going to go in and collect after a red jump. Faker is pushing on the weak side of the map, but all of his tools is teleporting to the fight. And they're just trying to starve Splice out of any area of control.
And Splice were actually setting up a trap right there. Humanoid was doing his best to look delicious, see if they could create a pick with Norse Garen, but excellent vision and scouting from SKT. This team is just so refined, so disciplined, so well practiced.
Slowly but surely. SKT takes that one down. You can see, right, they got to about 18 minutes in, and then it just broke open.
Yeah, because you say it's slowly but surely. It's only 23 minutes into the game. And they're knocking on the base.
Well, they're going to try for a play right now, up in the air. A lot of damage towards Xerxes. Has to have Kabe walk forward to take a little bit of right there. As Humanoid can't snap back to find any damage. Botland's too much.
Absolutely. They're going to once again resume this siege. You can see that SKT, whilst the Baron buff is still available for the next 20 seconds, very content at taking away all the outer structures. They've now got themselves a 6,000 gold lead at 24 minutes into the game. And whilst they're you know, fall off after that point, if there's not going to be defensive itemization coming across, the Lucian, the Lissandra, the Draven, they're all still going to be doing a lot of damage.
And it's the fact that because Splice don't actually have a traditional tank, if SKT's composition and if they are. We just saw that Baron power play. You just illustrated the gold lead. There's always going to be kill pressure, and there's multiple damage threats on SKT's comp. They will always be relevant in these fights.
They're going to look to be relevant right inside of Splice's base before too terribly long. We can see if they want to wait 2 minutes till the Baron respawns, or if they want to push a bit more earlier. No rapid fire cannon from the squad, so it's to knock the swords down. But they've got, it might, just might, dive a tower. For now, they're going to steal the blue buff away, take out some of that jungle.
And I think just a goal right now for SKT is to play away from the very proactive play. Certainly for Splice, it might be off the back of the horse. So they're playing on the side of the map. They're making sure that they have vision set up prior to going for any of these elongated sieges. And I think that as long as they continue to frustrate a young Splice lineup, this early game, where it was quite competitive, will start to seem like a very long time ago. And then it becomes thinking about, okay, how do we achieve that one team fight where maybe we can sneak our way back into the game?
And if you're Splice, your main goal is to just, first and foremost, clear out your jungle so you can get safely to your farm waves. We just saw Splice do it. They used their sweepers, but it is also setting up these angles and these avenues back, getting good underneath in Fog of War, and trying to surprise them.
Still playing the vision setup right now. We've only got a minute now till Barons. That's going to be pretty obviously the play. And this is the Splice.
Who's going to walk around?
There are no forward wards at all in this squad. See what happens. It's not going to be too terrible. Fly over the wall, doesn't get attacked or anything. And once again, it is so much darkness. Splid puts Sweeper down, sees a ward, says, anyone here? No? Okay.
And once again, look how well SKT on the base side of the map.
Oh, danger to Norse Garen, though. The cocoon over the wall lands. They hook him right back in. And it's time to knock down the mid-inhibitor turret. Baron's not up. They crack the base anyway. This inhib is gone.
And I don't know what it is about SKT, because you can change out every single member, but they almost always have this core identity of SKT not only recognize exactly what they need to do, but exactly what you want to do to them. They find it, they figure it out, and they break it.
Almost nobody for Chachi. Gets some damage, but not enough for the kill. Now the ult across from Faker. That could be enough to kill him. Heals a little bit more, but doesn't have the backup. Teddy finds that kill, and there's nowhere for Xerxes to go. He's going to drop as well. There could be more of a chase down. Faker just lives. The flash hook's not going to land. A trade kill. That's a nice one. The cleanse. He tries to get away, just back to the squad. And can he evade SKT? Which one's real? It's one on the north side. Puts in the chain. Everyone's going to bring in a teammate, though, and they're going to find a full Teddy on a killing spree. And SKT can run right to that barrier.
And once again, Splice go fishing, but this time they catch the entirety of the SKT lineup. They're going over the top of them. They will be able to pick up their second Baron of the game, and the goal lead has just exploded.
And for me, the difference has not only been in the individual mechanics, but also just in the vision game that SKT have been playing since the lane phase broke. You can see that Splyce are trying their hardest to regain control of their jungle, but SKT saw this coming from a mile away. This is after Northscaren's already been blown up, and SKT knew the Blitzcrank was around the corner. They drop a ward, they blow him up, and then they just start ripping through Splyce.
And I mean, when you look at how this fight is going, it's perfect for SKT because it's on multiple flanks. It's the ability to not have to fight in something like a Gangplank ultimate. And credit to Humanoid, he is able to pick up Faker on the back end of that. Does allow himself to pick up a pretty big shutdown as well. But when your front door is being kicked in and you lose Baron, the game is in a very dangerous state.
I mean, Humanoid with that breaking ankles play right there might have actually just saved the game from Splyce, but I won't say save. I will say prolonged the game for Splyce.
Maybe so, but regardless, it was still a fight that went SKT's way. The Baron's on top as well, and we'll see how much more they can crack down. Middle inhibitor already dead. Shachi found out by Khan. That matchup was tilted so early, and it's still paying dividends now.
Mission
The
is
fight on the bottom side, TP comes in, looking to knock down Teddy. Can they kill him? Yes, they will. 1-for-0, but
Will
can it be
the
enough? Can
Horse
Kave survive with the damage across? They're still chasing down
What
the opponent.
business have
Then the
you
kill
with
comes
the
in. The
Rotary?
culling is there. Just barely
aid
can't
the
kill the
Rotary?
Kaisa, but a 2v4
Rotary
is
have
really
need of
hard
your
to win.
services.
They're going to flash bit of safety now as well. SKT still on the chase. Faker has a claw soon,
Greetings.
and they're hungry for blood. Looking to go
I
right
am
through the mid
sure we
lane.
can be of
Looking
mutual
again to maybe
service
knock
to
down
one another.
Kave. Can't quite find him just yet, but they have the Nexus turrets in sight. 4v2 to push, and SKT, it's still going to be a sub 30-minute win. The first 15 were fought valiantly, but SKT, the champions of Korea for a reason, pad the KDAs, add to the stats, 14-7 in kills, and the Nexus falls in game 1.
And a commanding victory from SK Telecom in the end, but that was a fairly competitive early game, but crucial errors from a young lineup again. Humanoid getting caught out multiple times, Northscaren getting caught out, and you just cannot make those mistakes against SKT when the game is in the crunch.
And I think the expectation for this series is it wasn't for lack of trying from Splyce.
Yeah.
You know, they were throwing their shots at SKT. They tried to force a lot of ganks. Sometimes it did work out for them, but majority of the time it didn't. Whereas anytime SKT picked their moment, picked their play, it was always successful. And I think that's the true gap between these teams.
I also think that if you just look at how each of these teams played around their vision, you know, how Splyce was unable to regain control of the bottom portion of the map when they wanted to contest for that air Drake and gave so much of their lead back, versus when SKT were very conscious of where Blitzcrank was. I thought he might have a pick there, but they were just so aware of Northscaren's positioning at every single time. That is the difference between, you know, a world-class team like Splyce, who has made it now to the quarterfinals, versus maybe the best team of all time in League of Legends.
I mean, SKT being the best team of all time and Faker being the player of all time, that's not up for debate, right? We already know that it's true. Is this iteration as good as their heights? That's a question to be answered as this tournament plays out. Credit where it's due. Good first 15, first place. Played SKT equal, but the back half, SKT clearly showing their class, a far better team, but we'll see what happens in the rest of this best of 5. For more on how Game 1 played out, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. SKT out to the early lead in the series at 1-0, but we heard Freak say believes that Splyce played SKT close in the first 15. We'll dive into the early game, dissect it a little bit in just a moment, but first I want to identify what exactly happened in Champion Select, because as we talked about top of the day, would Splyce stick to comfort? Would they decide to throw something new and out of the box at SKT?
Honestly, I found this draft surprising, even from an SKT perspective, with the very early Thresh. Because while Thresh is a big meta pick, you know, we've seen it in the past from him many times, actually, Effort had never played a professional game on the Thresh before the World Championship started, and to first round it, that's how surprised I was.
That's how
I threw my
surprised.
pen. You weren't that surprised. You see that, and you think, but this is Syndra, Mage bot lane, and Petty, but the Draven is something he played sparingly on Jin, and made some sense not into a That's the first half. And I like that SK Telecom open when they drafted this aggressive from the best player, right? They're going down there, sending the message in the opening game and putting that pressure on them.
We did get Splyce confident. That's why, like, early GP, we know it's the #1 pick for Chachi. Sadly, of course, GP does have a lot of counters if you play a lot of carries on the top lane, especially carries that we saw here. So that's a bit of an issue for them. I think the Kai'Sa choice is smart again because you want to play around your bot lane, ideally if you are Splyce. So I think that draft made a lot of sense, and I love the Blitzcrank. You know, we were actually calling for Nautilus initially instead of the GP pick. We were like, okay, they can go for GP, also makes sense. And then still get what was a kill lane with Blitz to try and shut down Draven, which, to be fair, actually worked out.
And of course, we joked that it's SKT playing Lucian in the top lane after Huni exits the lineup. But Kobe, I'm coming back to you because I want to discuss the expectation of the early game based on the compositions drafted by each team.
Right, given these champions, and I like that you point out the Lucian top, because there's a very clear message given by SK Telecom. Lucian pick into GP with an Elise jungle, that means this is going to be a dive possibility for SKT. So there are two possible reactions if you are Spliced here. You're looking at the jungler red side. Is he going to actually start and defend this GP from the possible dive, or is he going to focus on bottom side and try and play offensively to their strengths? SK Telecom just played to their plan, repeated dives on top side. Then after that first kill, it's very easy for Klid to return top side. Right here, you had Vizichachi and Xerxes in lane, literally just trying to push them in. They weren't trying to accomplish anything except reset and gain some sort of balance in this. They were expecting a reset there, and yet SKT knows that they have an advantage in this matchup. We've seen both to the top side.
And we were debating should you defend as a jungler, your GP here, or should you go bot lane and gank? I think you should go bot lane and gank because you're playing against and of course reset third aggro. And in this case, they did bring up multiple players, also with Faker joining with Aftershock. So there's a lot of members who can actually start the fight and still tank the turret and reset it, or at least just walk out without taking too much damage. So I think defending would be really difficult. So Cersei opted to go bot. They got the flash, they didn't get the kill sadly, but they did set up the early snowball around bot lane, which to me was like the only way they could actually win early, by playing through bot and then hope that Vizichachi does not fall too far behind.
And trading sides of the map is pretty standard. That's why we often see one side, top side attack, the other team attacks bot side. But one thing I want to break open is the fact that with Draven Thresh, you're thinking winning lane bot side, Lucian beats GP on the top side. SKT kind of had options on both sides, and while they had to leave Draven on a weak side in this game, which you don't normally want to do, when you have such a winning top side and the potential to snowball through bot side, you give yourself a lot of options if your fallback is strong. And as SKT closed out this game, you see how strong their macro was. They were going to win somewhere, and they were going to snowball from them.
And to Freak's point, it was the tale of, you know, two sides of the map. For Splice, the advantage was on the bot side. On the top, trying to hit that mid-game, that 25-minute mark. Fairly even close, things slow down. And then we look for the one player to things over. It comes in the mid lane, and it's effort on that Thresh, who finds the flash play to secure them the base.
That's a kind of a weird way to try and start it. It's very overforced, obviously, with Noskaran trying to look for that pick with all of the SKT members around the mid lane, but I think if you are Spice at this point, like, if it's not a body slam flash engage from Cersei, you must fish for hooks, because you can't actually play the map, because Lucian is like mega fed at this point, and Lissandra can't really die.
Moments like that show the guy who wasn't playing, only new player to come into the starting roster here. Young support, still I believe 18, 19 years of age, still finding his footing, but taking that evolution away from just strong laning supports and also being decisive on the engage.
Yeah, I mean, there was a very clear reason why they made the change from Mata to Effort. Even
Mechanics, baby.
Yeah, Mata is such a legendary player, and yet, with the extra stopwatch here, it makes a completely different story. Both supports getting those hooks, both supports going for the engage, one team running away with it.
And I think Splice on blue side here, it was of course SKT who selected red. Makes a lot of sense. They could counterpick both solo laners, which also made it very hard for Splice. They had GP to and then they had they went blank. They were smart to pick Cleanse as well. So he wouldn't get hard cam.
We were debating this.
Cleanse was correct.
No.
Give me your response, and then we gotta go.
So here, the closed-minded way to look at the cleanse is, oh no, there's an Elise and a Lissandra that are going to block me down and kill me. But if you don't take Ignite or teleport, then you're not getting the benefit of
He had to blind pick. That was the benefit. You have to blind pick something.
Take
It
it
took
Cleanse was correct. He used Cleanse.
It was correct. 26 minutes into the game was the only time Cleanse was used by the mid laner. For Splice, they did play close for that first 20 minutes, but it did not go in their favor ultimately. As we go to break, the newest addition to Summoner's Rift Senate, the Demon is ready to conquer enemies. with black mist. You've already seen her trailer, so let's get a closer look at what we can expect when she goes live on PvE in just 2 days.
Expecting you.
And I brought you a gift, so you can fight properly. Red Bull.
Ooh, how nice of you, but also rather foolish. Mine.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Our mission is dire. What business have you with the Rohirrim? What brings you to these lands? After contemplating a vile symbol recovered from brigands, Doron, leader of the Oathbreakers in Path Celebrant, has chosen to confess how he and his men came to be cursed.
frames. We're on the clock. Please tell me I got to appeal to my humanity. Actually, Vegetarian coming. Nothing will change that. The Avengers. That's what they call ourselves. Sort of like a team.
Our mission is dire.
There are people inside that can be running right to the live wire. You take them to the basement or through the subway. You keep them off the streets. As far back as 39.
It is wise for wanderers to equip themselves well.
Council has made a decision.
You're closer than any of our subs. You scrambled that jet. That is the island of Manhattan. Until I'm certain my can't
While confronting the treacherous brigands and oathbreakers of Ostcelebrant, you have discovered a concealed passage that reeks of dread. What horrors would be lurking beneath that crumbling?
Got